Hello! This is Yahweasel. Let's play Munchlax analysis. So this needs a little bit of description here. Basically, on my walk to and from work recently, I've been listening to Cool Games Inc., which is the game design podcast by Griffin McElroy and Nick Robinson. It's from Polygon.com. It says so right there. And they invented this game. It's a comedy podcast. They don't actually make real games. They invented this game concept. Basically, well, let's just read the introduction. The year is 1999. You are a film critic all too aware of their own mortality. Too aware as in the infinitive form of aware. I don't know what that means. I didn't think aware was a verb, but apparently it is. We are too aware. On top of that, you've come up against your biggest challenge to date, reviewing Pokémon, the first movie. Basically, you are a film critic who knows nothing about Pokémon, trying to analyze the movie Pokémon with no relevant background knowledge that you might need to have. And I think that's perfect for me, because I don't know anything about Pokémon. I never played Pokémon. I've played, badly translated hacks, and it's not a good game in the first place. So, anyway, so I know nothing about it. The first thing is, this is Munchlax analysis, and I'm not really sure, did they... I'm already gonna say something. Is Munchlax an actual Pookie friend? Is that a real thing? Because it sounds like a name they made up on the spot, because it's just Munchlaxatives, but whatever. Click here for no problem fun. Early November 1999. As the film critic for the Daily Dispatch, you spent the morning at a screening of Pokémon, the first movie. Now, the infinite space of your blank word processor yawns in front of you. The strong mix of emotions you feel is difficult to put into words. Now, mind you, I haven't seen that movie, so it's going to be even more difficult for me to review it, since I haven't seen it and know nothing of the franchise. There's a note on my desk. You reread the note from Karen, senior editor at the Dispatch. It's not signed, but you know her handwriting. Besides, it's not as if anybody else ever writes you notes. Had a look over your latest review. More and more, I can't help but feel that you've become lax in your analysis. Munchlax in my analysis? Ask yourself this. Does film still excite me? Well, does it? Maybe not. You don't know, maybe. You didn't get into film criticism because you hated films or criticism, but it has always meant to lead to something. You're not sure what. Suddenly you're keenly aware that the time is wasting. Better get writing. How do we start this thing? So just what is Pokémons? Cartoons have long languished in a dark place. It's not enough that they're taking our business and land. Dog fighting. I mean, it is, you have slaves and you fight them against each other. So yeah, dog fighting. When did cartoons get so violent? And this is for kids, and it's on TV? Jeez, you can't think of any violence in... Well, you aren't quite sure what kids watch these days, but it's definitely more wholesome than this. This is basically a cartoon about blood sport. Barbaric. Is your child into dogfighting? If so, I can recommend Pokémon the first movie wholeheartedly. This is no Barney the Dinosaur. These little demons are raised by humans to fight to the death over and over. In their first feature film outing, which threatens more, the main villain of the piece, if you call him she, it, that, forces the Pokémon to fight. Parents deserve to know. You sigh and lean back in your chair. What you typed looks wispy and fragile, overwhelmed in a sea of whiteness. You look around the office. It's late afternoon, and people are restless and unfocused. Where was I again? Oh right, the review. Pokémon, the first movie. Luckily, you have last week's paper handy. Flipping through, you skip straight to the second paragraph of your column. Aha! The plot summary. Like a toy executive's fever dream of marketable creatures, probably, shades of Battleship Potemkin, a sort of sci-fi story where science predictably is the bad guy. I love all of these options. I'm gonna go with a sort of sci-fi story where science predictably is the bad guy. It can't be avoided. The angry clone is a classic example of science gone mad that wouldn't be out of place in a 50s drive-in. The angry clone? What? I miss drive-ins! Pokémon gives us the tiresome don't meddle in God's realm narrative peddled by almost every science fiction film. It would do well to take a leaf from the action-packed Independence Day or even the hilarious sci-fi spoof Austin Powers franchise where science is portrayed as a force of good in the world. Why is science always evil? You listen to the tack of other people typing around you. Most days you don't hear it. But right now, it's eating away at you. You try to focus, dipping back into your hazy memories of Pokémon for inspiration. I was usually not reading the prompts in that voice, but whatever. Pokémon. 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 The kind of name only a cartoon could get away with. You start thinking about cartoons. Other critics you've read say it's an exciting time for animation the past couple of years. Only negative comparisons are available. Disney, Pixar, Hanna-Barbera, DreamWorks, 1980s Japanese animation. I mean, Pixar is definitely on top of their game around 1999. I mean, the joke of the podcast was that they all compared them to Akira and such, but let's go with Pixar. There's a perfectly good reason why you didn't like this Pokémon film. The future of animation isn't drawn, it's digital. I like how I live in some weird world where I'm simultaneously, like, infinitely old, and also I don't appreciate drawn animation because it has to be digital in 3D. You remember a couple of years back when Pixar won an Academy Award. Well, not that you believe that the awards mean anything, but it doesn't change the fact that it did win one. Wait, do they draw on computers? In a year where Toy Story 2 is set to boldly affirm once again that the future for animation is digital, Pokémon the first movie can't help but feel like a relic. Pokémon certainly aspires for the pathos of the lovable cowboy Woody's struggle with mortality. It really doesn't. But even if it could match the lush photorealistic visuals of Pixar's, most of the cast saying nothing more than their own name would ruin it. Cowboys are just fun. Nearly there, you think to yourself. It's not coming easily, but it is coming. You think about previous writing you've done, and what this point felt like. Heh, coming. You can distinctly remember hitting this point before with your writing, but for whatever reason, can't remember what you did to get over it. Come on, there has to be at least one more thing to say about Pokémon. Call me old-fashioned, but I remember a time when cartoons weren't driven by commercial considerations. Seriously, what is a Pokémon? Never explain it. There was a lot of crying. What happened to the wholesome kids' films? Seriously, what is a Pokémon? Never explain it. What does Pokémon even mean anyway? God, you would think they would at least explain what in the heck a Pokémon is. Is it something to do with Pac-Man? At the end of it all, I'm still not sure what a Pokémon is. Can they breathe fire or electricity? Are some telekinetic or all of them telekinetic? There's a normal cat who is supposedly a Pokémon, except he can talk to humans. Is this what makes him a Pokémon and not a cat? Wait, how do you capitalize? What do you mean, how do you capitalize Pokémon with a capital P? How does it pluralize? Almost done. You can already imagine yourself flopping down into the cramped seat of your bus and beginning to relax for the day. Then you remember you still have to write a conclusion. Thinking about what to write makes the feeling vanish. Time is running out. Deadline looms over you. You copy and paste your introduction to see if you can reword it, but nothing fits. Ugh. You're sick of thinking about Pokémon. You're looking forward to its complete irrelevancy so you never have to see or think or hear about it ever again. Like Ninja Turtles or... Hey, I don't curse on my channel. Like Ninja Turtles or Disco Ducking Duck. Okay, you can do this. Focus. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. It's not that hard. It's never that hard. I like normal kids' films. It teaches our kids violence. Japanese animation is yet to see its Citizen Kane. Animation just isn't for me. I love the middle two. The middle two are both really good, but the second one reinforces my insane point from the beginning. Somebody has to say it. Since when have cartoons been this violent? You know they're aimed at children, right? Every parent can be worried that little Bobby and Susie might start making the cat fight the dog. You always thought of yourself as the kind of person who would adopt a cat. Even were the charms of Pokémon the first movie enough to hold me, its message definitely would have me panning it. There's no other way to say it, except that it encourages violence against animals and the most impressionable members of society. This, if for no other reason, is why I cannot recommend it. And this is why I got into journalism. You gleefully hit save and close your word processor. You're starting to plan what you want to do after work, and shit, you didn't give it a star rating. You open your word processor, back up, and hit shift, pausing with your finger over the number 8, you think. You want to reread it, but you have to get it to your editor before deadline. Alright, 8 has the asterisk and not the star above it. I mean, that was a pretty negative review, right? Like, I'm not gonna give it 5 stars, so let's go with 1 star. You're finally done. The immense sense of relief of having successfully completed a review of Pokémon the first movie washes over you. Sure, it's not the first time or even 100th time you've managed to do this, but that doesn't change how you feel. You look out at the blue sky, free from worry. The Daily Dispatch, Lifestyle and Culture, the stub. Okay, yeah, that is indeed my movie review. I'm not going to reread it all. Today's movie screening ran late. You bustle into the office and sit down at your desk. You listen to your computer's familiar crackling noise as the processor slowly wakes up. You drum your fingers impatiently against the armrest of your chair and look around your workstation for distraction. Oh, there's no note on your desk today. Just as your computer prompts you for your password, Karen, without a comma where it's supposed to be, appears walking towards you. Her mouth is set in a tight line. Before you can say good morning or ask her how she's doing, she speaks. Good, you're here. If you have a minute, can you come with me? The editor-in-chief and I would like to see you. Her tone makes it clear that you don't have a choice. You get up from your desk, mind racing, your heart beats faster. Unsure of what's to come, you get up out of your chair and begin to walk across the office. How does Mewtwo talk? It's what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are. I'm sure that was a perfect impersonation. Does this mean I got fired? Because I only have retry and credits as options here. Made by Inukai of twitter.com/AliveInTheWired. QC tester, moral support, and actual game dev who's generous with good advice. 20. Based on blah, 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 blah. Please listen to Cool Games Inc. I guess Nintendo owns Pokemon, but now this sounds like I uploaded all to Family Guy to YouTube. Thanks for playing. Retry. Okay. That was 12 minutes, surprisingly, but let's go ahead and do another playthrough. Yeah, maybe film still excites me. It's not as if you hate most movies. It's just watching so many films means even the good ones, the ones you enjoy, start to blur together, their formulas and limitations exposed. Of course, you can't put that in a review. Speaking of reviews, better start writing. Let's see if I can be positive here. I have a totally different set of options because I chose a different beginning there. Judging kids' films is the hardest part of my job. Does any of this say anything different? You stop yourself from getting up to make your 3rd cup of coffee and try to focus. Pokémon, the first movie. The idea that a film of this little substance is getting the better of you sets your teeth on edge. You hammer at your keyboard and find the staccato encouraging. Yeah, let's be weirdly positive this time. Judging kids' films is the hardest part of my job. How do you get Pikachu onto a bus? You poke him on. It seems the same could be said of how do you get kids into the cinema? What does that mean? What does that mean? That's basically positive, right? But I don't know what it means. That's perfect. When in doubt, always start with a joke. When in doubt, always start with a joke, even at the risk of exhausting your knowledge of a particular subject. Not that you would know anything about that. As the joke goes, how did you get Pikachu onto a bus? You poke him on. It seems as though the same holds true for getting kids into cinemas. Yes, the unavoidable yellow marsupial with the inexplicable cheeks of a porcelain doll is here to charm the youngsters. Whether their parents will be charmed is another matter entirely. Wasn't there a nursery rhyme like that? You snaffle up your well-earned snack. The biscuits crack amicably between your back molars and fills your senses with the rich spiciness of ginger. Wow, that is some deep writing there. No matter, there's work to be done. The realization of how little you've actually written crashed you back to reality. Suddenly you feel bothered, distracted. You want nothing more than a long walk in the sunshine. Hey, what did Pokémon eat? Of all the films you've seen, you've never expected Pokémon the first movie that would put up a fight like this. You never expected... I guess that's what it would be Pokémon the first movie that would put up a fight like this? You nearly draw blood trying to simple recommend, do not recommend for it, like you've done so many times before. You can't recommend it, but can you? You go through it again in your mind, trying to put the pieces of it together to see... Why is the plot all over the place? Ash and his surprisingly sexualized friend! A riff on the familiar Frankenstein tale by Mary Shelley, is it? Gets lost without the familiar ground of a fairy tale to cling to. I like that these last two are exactly, opposed to each other. I'm gonna go with a riff on the familiar Frankenstein tale. Yes, now you're getting somewhere. Frankenstein, the classic tale of one man's hubris leading to the birth of a true monster. You might not have known much of what happened in the movie, but that's a reference that's clear and simple. You wonder if the people behind the global Pokémon sensation are aware of the irony. How hard was it to make a purple cat anyway? With its oblique parallels to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, geez, no wonder I'm being fired. I don't understand how to use grammar. The Pokémon movie sees Pikachu and his human friends face off against the result of science run amok. But in the grand tradition of children's films, are we at the film's climax led to the conclusion that this monster has a human heart after all? If you can't answer that, then perhaps this film is for you? What does that mean? You really hope that that author's name wasn't Shelley Marie. It's coming together, or at least as much as it can be expected to. You try to get the creative energy flowing. You try to think about movies. You end up just thinking about crepes. You think again. When's the last time you left a movie elated with a real sense of joy and things to say about it? I remember the feeling! Got it! It was when You trace it back and realize a friend had you listen to a CD they wouldn't stop talking about. You close your eyes and rub your temples. It shouldn't be difficult. You think about movies again. The ones you've seen recently or not recently. What they compelled you to write about. I can only do negative comparisons. Let's do a negative comparison to Ren and Stimpy. Really? Like, that's what we're doing? Yeah, okay. It's 1999. Stuff aimed at kids just needs a little something more to them. A bit more rough around the outsides. I like how my last review was that this was dogfighting, and this review seems to be going, it's just not rough enough. You think about the delightful antics of Ren and Stimpy. Sure, it's a cartoon cat and dog, but there's a shock value and outrageousness to it. If only Pokémon could be that raw. Japan are just behind the times. The most obvious comparison to Pokémon is the delightfully satirical Ren and Stimpy. It just isn't. It just isn't. When Ren and Stimpy raises a joyous middle finger to the accepted conventions of sweet and cuddly children's cartoon, Pokémon seems content merely to repeat the wholesale. Their cute and cuddly main characters are just that, and even the villainous Mewtwo is soft, rounded, and cat-like. Sadly, it can't help but feel out of date in an era with a taste for a little more edge. Ren and Stimpy is probably still going, too. Movies, films, what? That was easily the most insane thing this game has led me to write thus far. Movies, films, motion pictures, cinema, features. You roll each of these words around on your tongue, quietly, to yourself. It's not as if you hate movies. You certainly don't hate this one. An unintentional glance at the small digital clock on your computer punctures your introspection. Hot panic splashes against your insides. Stop cursing! Duck! You type duck and backspace over it. It eases your anxiety somewhat. You play word association with Pokémon and consider each thing that you know about it in turn. Some things you discard for being too obvious. A couple seem unlikely. After all, you're no Pokémon expert. You're just a film critic with a job to do. After toying with a couple of possibilities, you finally settle on one. Pokemon ask you to believe in a purple cat as a compelling villain. Balls, cloning, telekinesis, large shafts of light. Apparently there's a TV show as well. Whatever a video game is these days, you know it's not Pac-Man anymore. Woo-wee! I'm really making myself a crusty antiquarian there. I like the just let's be confused angle, since that's the most positive thing I can say. The movie's visual and narrative elements are just overwhelming. If they fit together in a logical pattern, they do so in a way that you can't follow. Maybe one of those elements, like telekinesis or magical balls, would make sense in isolation, but together they don't make a cohesive world for the film. They might make more sense to a child's logic. It's possible, but it's also possible children are just less discerning. Try to think about the development of your own discernment. Ultimately, the movie is a bizarre hodgepodge of imagery. I'm still uncertain of how it all fits together. Pokémon, imaginary beasts with magical powers, fit into balls. Staking jagged shafts of light seemingly represent a myriad of different concepts related to Pokémon. The shape of Pokémon doesn't appear to have any rhyme or reason, yet a major plot point in the film is that humans and Pokémon are very different creatures. Frankly, I'm still not sure what to make of any of it. Well, that's honest! You're proud of yourself for editing your list of imagery down. Although you're nearly finished, it doesn't feel like it. For a second, you feel concentration manifest itself at your frontal lobe. Then it dissipates. You rub your face and open the top drawer to your desk restlessly. It strikes you that writing reviews for movies can turn formulaic, in much the same way that movies so many commas would be nice. It strikes you that writing reviews for movies can turn formulaic, in much the same way that movies can, despite your best intentions. This doesn't seem like a new thought to you. It also isn't helping you write. What else do you even have to say about Pokémon? It's your job to have things to say, of course, regardless of whether you think you can or not. You know, a run through the park would help you focus, but there's no time. You take a sip of your 6th or 7th glass of water, really? Pokemon can't challenge Disney. Wouldn't an electric shock kill you? What kids see in this I'll never know. I don't have time to learn what this is, and at this stage I don't think I can! Yes! Honesty. Maybe you can learn to like or love or just understand Pokemon, but you feel as though there's no point in trying to pretend otherwise. That's probably what you can take from this whole Pokemon debacle. I think I can comfortably say that I may not be capable of fully appreciating Pokemon. Even if I was, I don't know if I have the time to devote to appreciate its full nuance. Fortunately for my sake, that's beyond the scope of a newspaper column. It isn't. As it stands, do I feel equipped to review Pokémon the first movie? Not particularly. But that's also not necessarily part of my job? That's literally your job. What? You feel slightly vulnerable. You gleefully hit save and close your word processor. Yeah. I didn't give it a star rating. 5 stars! You're finally done. The immense sense of relief of having successfully completed a review of Pokémon the first movie washes over you. Okay, this is the same. Here's the column. Yep, there it is. That is indeed what I wrote. How do I move on? I can't move on. Does that mean I won? Oh God! Ah! Oh geez, I did not mean to do that. Did I write the perfect review? Because I can't click forwards. I guess. I win. I win! Well, that was certainly a thing. Okay, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, you can help decide what I play next at yahweasel.com/poll. Cheers from Yahweasel.